studio. Give it up for the icon himself, Walker Hayes.
Icon, huh?
How we doing, man?
I'm good, dude. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for stopping by. I know you've been real busy with everything.
Yeah,
so thank you for
we've been
making time
traveling
for me.
everywhere. Glad to be here, though.
Yeah, man, thanks for coming through. I know you guys just came cross country from LA, right?
Yeah, we were in LA last night. We played a casino kind of right outside of LA and caught a red eye last night. Got a little bit delayed, so it was pretty brutal. But hey, we're here,
Nice.
and we're on time for the show.
Absolutely. But real quick, we're just going to start with your background. Where
Yeah.
you're from and what was life growing up like there for you?
Oh shoot, I'm from Mobile, Alabama, coastal town. Grew up kind of on Mobile Bay. Big water sports guy growing up. Played all sports. Really wasn't into music like playing it as much as I was just listening to it. Growing up, I'm the last of 9 kids, so I was heavily influenced by my older brothers and their musical taste. My wife was my high school sweetheart, so we kind of carry a lot of Mobile with us where we're at. Like, I love taking the kids back and showing them where everything happened, even though they don't really care. They're like, this is boring, we don't care. But yeah, man.
So I'm in Mobile, especially because that place has a lot of history in
Yeah.
other areas. It's not just musical but cultural.
Yeah.
What was it like for you kind of learning about the culture in Mobile as far as the music side goes?
Yeah, I mean, Mardi Gras is a big deal, and so that's a lot of party-like music. A lot of high school bands would march in Mardi Gras and then stop and then, like, break it down, and I don't know. I feel like in Mobile, it was kind of a genre-less culture. Like, I didn't like need to put music in a box. It was just we listened to it all, like I grew up on a little bit of country, a little bit of kind of alternative, a lot of hip hop, and it was just all kind of what we played for each other out in the fields, when we were partying, after a football game and stuff like that. So there was no. It wasn't like nobody was like, hey, I just like this and hate everything else. So I have that mentality too, which is kind of difficult. A lot of traditional country listeners are very anti other genres, which I don't really understand that.
Because country music is the genre, especially when you compare it to all other genres.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed much since its inception.
I know. It's a large ship, to steer.
That's exactly what your point is too, because like a lot of people, especially myself, I don't know too much about country. But country that I do know, so like a Conway Twitty or like a Dolly Parton, like the old stuff and new stuff, the influence is pretty much, not even the influence, but the sound is just pretty much hasn't changed too often. Why do you think that's the case with country not really wanting to experiment?
Man, honestly, I feel like those types of listeners, and I'm not dogging them, because I grew up in a smaller town, and it wasn't till I moved to Birmingham and then Nashville that I began to be a little less reluctant to change and stuff like that. Again, musically, I wasn't one of those, growing. My dad impressed upon me a lot of church music, a lot of old country, but he was never like, hey, this is the only way, what I mean? And I appreciate that. But I do feel like, people in those little bubbles, they value what they have, and that's awesome. That's one great thing about country music, is that, boy, once you get a fan, you got a fan for life, and you might have a career for 20, 30 years. It's not just one and done, or like one album you're popular and then you go away. But yeah, I think change is tough, for some people. And then again, I'm not like I'm not like dogging those people. My parents are those people. Even my dad, sometimes, I'll send him a song and he'll be like, it's not really my style, and I get it. He's just slow to come around, and then maybe he'll call me in 6 months and be like, dang, that is good. That grew on me. And so he's tougher. Younger generations are always easier to. They're a little bit more open-minded in the musical department. So yeah. I hope that made some sense.
Absolutely. I do want to ask you, how did you get your start in the music industry?
Dude, my start was crazy. So my dad got me my first gig out of college. He heard me just messing around on the guitar, and there was a bar in Mobile, and he said, "Hey, you need to go give that a try. You need to do that in front of people." And I'm so grateful to him, because I was scared, had stage fright, was not like, "Hey, yeah, let me do it." I kind of did it, very frightened, and I loved it. And so then my wife and I moved to Nashville, and honestly, I always thought I would just be a writer. I love to write all genres. I just freaking love it. That's my favorite part of music, is the writing. And believe it or not, dude, 12 years into my Nashville career, wasn't going so well. I had a lot of pub deals, had a lot of record labels, and lost them all. And then I met this dude named Shane McAnally in a Smoothie King. And he started listening to my stuff, and he was like, "Man, why you trying to get people to cut this stuff, or why don't you just do a record?" And so we did it, and that's why I'm here. Pretty wild, right?
Yeah, coming from like you were just saying before, writing is your first love when it comes to the music part of things. For you, because I assume like performing had to come secondary for you. So
Yeah.
What did you do to prepare yourself to become a better performer?
Dude, I did some crazy stuff. Like I realized, at a certain point, that just getting my songs out there, whether I wanted to cut them or not, I had to sing them for people. People had to hear me. That's just the way Nashville works. And so actually, for a little while there, I would set up on the street and on West End in Nashville and just play to people getting out of Preds games, or walking down, bachelorette parties and stuff. And so that helped me with my confidence. I noticed people would stop and be like, "Dang, this dude's legit," and I would sing a cover and some originals. And then I got some pretty steady gigs going in Franklin, like right outside of Nashville, and restaurants and stuff. And so I built, as a performer, I just I wouldn't say like I honed my craft where I'm like, oh, mega performer, but the confidence came like, hey, I am who I am, and my style and my delivery is what it is. And so, dude, some people are gonna like it, some people are gonna hate it, and I learned to just deal with that and just be proud of what I was doing. So I worked on it a lot. My last job, I was working at Costco, and I would still play like at places like Puckett's Grocery and stuff.
About that too.
Yeah.
Like, that's a crazy, because you're open book pretty much with your life. Like,
Oh yeah.
And I respect the hell out of
Yeah.
you. You made it to this point.
It's wild, yeah.
Because that's usually the hardest part for people, is just to keep going. What was keeping you motivated to keep going during those low points?
Man, I've always, one thing I'm so blessed that I've always done, not by like, hey, I'm gonna wake up and do this, but I just love writing, and it's always been a form of self-expression. Growing up, I loved sports, and when that ended, I think writing kind of came into the picture, and that was like my field. And so when things got really rough and I was writing for just me, what's odd to me is that that's the material that I sing now. It's like the stuff that I wrote when shit was hard. I don't know if I can say shit, but you know what I mean. But when it was the worst is when a lot of these songs came out. And to me, I try to tell other artists, and other people in the music business and remind them that, like, hey, a lot of this music that I sing that people actually like, and that brings fans to me, those weren't songs that I sat down and said, I'm gonna write this for the masses. I mean, I truly was just expressing what was going on, and that kept me going. And man, thank goodness. I mean, I'm surrounded by some just angelic people. I mean, my wife, my kids, they've never looked at me and said, hey, you think you maybe want to try another occupation? Like we're struggling in the food department. You wanna maybe get a gig that makes more sense? Like, they never said that. My parents, at times they were worried, but I've really been fortunate to be surrounded by people who always just thought what I was doing was what I was supposed to do, whether it made a dime or not, or made sense or not. And so I always tell, upcoming artists and stuff that they really got to find those people, you got to find people who are proud of you and support what you're doing.
Absolutely. I do want to talk to you about something that I found really interesting
Yeah.
when I was scrolling through your Instagram,
Yeah.
was your subscription boxes.
Oh, yeah.
Put out. And for those of you who don't know, it's exclusive content, exclusive songs, exclusive items coming from you.
Yeah.
Handpicked by you. Where'd that idea come from, and why did you feel like it was necessary to do that?
Well, the first music that really ever made us pop was free. And honestly, if I had my deal, like, I might still do that all the time, but I got signed to a label. And a label, I freaking love my label, but they're not walking around saying, "Hey, what can we give away for free?" And but I wanted to keep that kind of going with my fans, and not the free part, but the part where I love to give my fans music that has no rules. And unfortunately, with the radio, any radio genre, you got to kind of adhere to certain rules. Like, it's got to be this long, and hey, you need to get to that hook this fast and
is
stuff.
Country music like still pushing their biggest songs through the radio, or is streaming taking over in that?
Dude, streaming's late on the. I would say stream. I mean, there are country guys who stream okay, but I don't necessarily think the radio cares. And then I also think that radio listeners, that's the end all be all still, is what's on the radio. And I will tell you just from experience, man. I mean, I've had some songs pop within my audience and streaming wise, but I've also had one that went top 10, and that is still a life-changing, that changes your life, when that many million people are listening. But yeah, I mean, the subscription boxes, I get to write about a lot of personal shit, man. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I love to write about that. Not anonymous about it. I love to share that with my fans and how that's going. They keep me accountable, and so that's helpful to me. I write about my family. I write about the stuff. Success for me was a total letdown. Like, for a minute it was like, oh yeah, look at me, showed y'all. And then after a month or two, it was like, that didn't fill me up, and so I've had a lot of personal, issues with that to just kind of get out on the table and sing about and write about. And so yeah, I love to share those things, because who knows, if those will be on an album. I don't know. Like, my label has a lot to do with how we put those together, and so that kind of gives me an outlet to give people the raw stuff, no rules.
Absolutely. We do have two more questions.
Yeah, come on.
Before we let you get out of here, I
yeah.
want to say once again, thank you.
Oh, dude, whatever. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Hanging out with us. Where can everybody find you on social media?
Walker Hayes is my handle for everything, and the Instagram and Twitter. I don't do a Snapchat. And then I don't even. Is that still cool? People still snap.
Actually, you good? Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah, it's passed away.
Yeah, it's like it's gone. I figured it would be. I tried it for a day, and I was like, man, I want bunny ears and like a dog tongue hanging out of my mouth.
No, it's just OnlyFans now.
Yeah, and so yeah, Walker Hayes. And I got a website, with all my merch and stuff on it. It's just walkerhayes.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the final question we got for you, you kind of just alluded to your answer to it, but what's your definition of success?
Oh, shoot, man. Success is just, doing what you love and being content, where you are. Not worried about where you're going to be tomorrow, but literally just waking up and pouring your heart into something that you absolutely love. And, for me, that also has to do with being an example for my kids. I want all of them to wake up one day and love what they're doing with their life like I do. And I'm not saying it's easy, it's that doesn't immediately make it like, life is good, but it's a lot better. Like you guys, this is awesome, and you can tell you guys love it. So, screw everybody else. Yeah.
Bring your sweaters and couches.
Yeah.
And food.
There you go.
Well, again, thank you, Walker, for coming
and sitting
down with us. Everyone, thank you for watching this episode of This Is It podcast. Big thanks to our sponsors, J Sells Vintage. Remember, for all your vintage wear needs, make sure you hit up Justin on Instagram at J Sells Vintage. Thank you to the folks over at Mellowship Entertainment, and of course, the Big E. And as always, everyone, I'm Brad.
I'm Devin.
This is Walker. And this is it.